Well, welcome to the KARE 11 Sports Plus show. Every Wednesday, except for a little inconsistency this week because that's not Reggie Wilson.
Not this time. Not this time.
This is Nasser Kelvy. He's one of our web producers, turned web reporter. He's pumping out the content
today
for our web team.
Yes, ma'am. Indeed. Today I'm filling in for Reggie Wilson. Big shoes to fill, literally, as I like to say, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk sports. I'm excited to talk Minnesota sports.
You may be wondering why Nasser. Nasser is a huge Wolves guy, follows it, the ins and outs. Yeah. He's plugged into the Minnesota sports teams. He knows what's going on. I mean, it's been your life, basically, so.
Well, yeah, you could say so. You could say Wolves, Wolves, Vikings, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Got a lot of passion for them.
Well, we're going to talk about both of those teams today, so you're in luck.
Let's get into it.
We're going Vikings first. We're going to be talking about this for weeks, months, years, who knows.
We'll look back at this topic and say, did they do the right thing or the wrong thing?
Right, and were we right? Is what we'll wonder.
Yeah.
Obviously, the quarterback situation with the Vikings. And we're going to sprinkle a little bit of Jared Allen in there because
we need to. GOAT.
That's great TV at the end of the day.
Box office.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk about, like we said, the Wolves, where they're at right now. I know.
They're coming up.
Yeah.
They're coming up. This year is the year.
Okay.
You heard it here first. This is the year.
And we're going to look back on that as well and wonder if.
And we're going to say, wow, that guy was right. They're going to say that guy was right about that.
We're also going to talk about Gopher Hoops because now's the time.
It's March.
It's now or never, actually.
We're getting ready.
For everybody.
We're getting ready to go.
So let's start off, obviously, with the Vikings. And I don't know if you know this, but there's a quarterback controversy going on.
In Minnesota?
Yeah.
No.
People have been talking about it.
No way.
Just a little bit. So Sam Darnold was not franchise tagged.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't know that, Sam Darnold was not franchise tagged by the Vikings. What are your thoughts?
I think it was absolutely the right decision to not franchise tag Sam Darnold. I think you got to let him move on. I think he proved everything that he could have proved in 1 year here. He won 14 games. All right, okay, he didn't prove everything you wanted him to prove here. He proved a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, he won 14 games. He put up all kinds of numbers in a lot of big games. Not the biggest, but in a lot of big games, he had his biggest moments. And I think that's ultimately what you look for in a quarterback. I think Minnesota has another answer, another option to turn to, and I'm hoping that's what they do next.
Do you ever wonder if teams look at Sam Darnold and think, will he be the same quarterback without Kevin O'Connell?
I think that's absolutely a valid concern. I think he's shown, though, I mean, there's a reason this guy was drafted as high up as he was.
Right.
He has all the natural ability in the world. Hopefully, teams are thinking, hey, I mean, he got his confidence back up. He got his ego back up. He got, as they say, his swagger back.
Right.
And Sam Darnold is ready to hoop. At least that's what I'm hoping for him. I hope he actually goes on to have a great career. I mean, he gave us everything he had, genuinely, I think.
I think this is something that people talk about a lot. Our quarterback's the same without Kevin O'Connell. Kirk, he was not. But also,
he was coming off an injury, though.
Well, he got put into a situation where his strengths were not capitalized on, right? So it's also hard because Sam Darnold's only the second quarterback that Kevin O'Connell's really been able to hone in on.
Yeah.
And I always say an experiment is only proven as fact when you do it 3 times, right? So I think the Sam Darnold situation, I think teams got to see what he's capable of. Now he needs to go somewhere, which the Vikings are saying that they're trying to work out a contract with him. Of course they are, because of course they
have
are.
to.
Right. But I think that when teams look at Sam Darnold, they'll see now what he has to offer and maybe have an inside look as to how to capitalize on his strengths. So I think Sam Darnold's in a good situation no matter where he ends up. He's going to get paid.
He deserves it. He deserves a bag.
Yeah.
He's winning more games. He's putting up more numbers than a lot of these other guys are who are in the top 10, top 5 lists.
Right.
And I think he's been able to execute the scheme really well. And anywhere he goes, they're going to need to invest in weapons, obviously, as you should with any quarterback.
So now we move into the conversation of J.J. McCarthy.
Young GOAT in the making.
Right. I like your confidence in him,
He's coming
too.
up.
Yeah.
He's coming. He's exactly what the Vikings need. He's exactly what the doctor ordered. I actually looked this up. In his draft profile, one of his skills, one of his strengths is he intensifies his focus when needed.
Yeah.
That is exactly what the Vikings needed this last season in the playoffs against Detroit and against the Rams. I mean, they needed this guy to be locked in. And unfortunately, that's kind of where Sam Darnold struggled a little bit. Great quarterback, like I said. I hope he has a great career.
Right.
But those big moments, that is where J.J. McCarthy excels, and that's exactly where the Vikings need a quarterback to excel.
And we were talking earlier about how best case scenario, I feel like we agree on this, is they say, headed into training camp, J.J. McCarthy, QB1, but then they work to keep Daniel Jones around. at least re-sign him for a year, something like that. Let him work with Kevin O'Connell. He wants to work with Kevin O'Connell. And if all falls through with J.J. McCarthy, let's not sit here and act like Daniel Jones doesn't have abilities, right?
I agree. There's a reason they went out and got this guy. There's a reason he was also drafted where he was. I mean,
Right.
he also has those natural abilities. I think it makes no sense really for him to be anywhere else. I think it makes a lot of sense for him to stay with the Vikings to show what he can do in this system. If he can replicate, obviously, hopefully he does not end up starting because we have J.J. McCarthy.
Right.
Hopefully J.J. McCarthy is going to be already healed up, set to go for the season. But if anything should happen to him, I think Daniel Jones is about as good as he can get for someone else to step in, someone who has all the physical traits you look for.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Jared Allen too.
Yes.
He's headed to the Hall finally.
About time.
I think that this was a little bit overdue. I think that they're being a little bit pickier about the Hall. We saw how many are going in this year, and we were like, "That's it? What's going on?" So he's been eligible for 5 years. Finally,
Yeah.
he's making it in. Obviously, you're a big Jared Allen guy.
I love Jared Allen. Jared Allen, we were talking about this earlier. Jared Allen made watching the Vikings fun for me, watching the defensive side. There were years where the Vikings defense was great with Jared Allen. There were years where the Vikings defense was bad with Jared Allen. And that ultimately comes down to the secondary, a lot of other stuff.
Right.
But week in, week out, Jared Allen was box office. You tuned in to watch the battles he had with these left tackles every single week. And that was extremely entertaining, and I think that's the kind of guy you want in the Hall of Fame.
Great TV. Speaking of great TV, just a little insight into his press conference yesterday. It was
Yes.
slightly unhinged, but what more do you expect? Take a look at this.
The gold jacket will change your life. It's not changing my life. I'll be honest with you. It's just a bigger pain in the butt because I got to be a bunch of places that I would rather be at home. You know, coaching my kids volleyball. I had to get on a flight at 5:50 this morning. Thanks, Tom West. So it's awesome. I joke now. Honoring means you do a lot of stuff you don't want to do for free. That's what that means. That's what all of it means. I'd rather be close than freaking. Who sucks, the Jets? Oh, gosh. Being the Jets would be miserable right now. I just can't believe anybody took that job. Rough one. So you get to say this stuff when you're retired. You can say whatever you want.
I mean, you can't expect anything less. I don't know why the Jets caught a stray so bad.
I don't know, man. They can't do anything right. And they got the worst NFL report card this year, too. They cannot catch a break. We're not going to talk about the Jets too much, though. But, hey, you got to love Jared Allen. You got to love the honesty.
I agree. That was actually only just like a little hint as to the things that he
Little
said.
shot.
But he's right.
Little shot.
He's retired. What are they going to do at this point?
And he's in the Hall of Fame. You can't question him
well,
anymore.
and it's not that he really cares, apparently, that he's in the Hall or not. But
Yeah, it's true.
I thought that was funny, too, that he was like, now I just got to do all these. It's like having assignments all the time where I have to go
Pain
make
in the
these
butt,
pre-
he calls it.
Yeah.
Being in the Hall of Fame.
I know. Well, you know what? There's worse things to do with your time. I think we can attest to that. But coming up next, we're not going anywhere. We got to talk Wolves. And then, of course, later, we're going to get into Gopher Hoops. Welcome back to the KARE 11 Sports Plus show. I'm Julia Daniels. That's not Reggie Wilson. That's Nasser Kelby. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
I'm honored to be here.
I know
Filling in
you are.
for the one and only Reggie Wilson.
When I asked Nasser to do this show with me, he didn't tell me he was excited, but he told everyone else in the newsroom he was excited.
You got to be
because-
nonchalant. You can't let people know how you're really feeling at any given time. You know what I mean? Keep some mystery about you. It's free game. Free game right there. So
After
you guys
this
know
show,
out there.
I don't think anyone's going to be thinking you're a mysterious guy. We're talking about the Wolves, especially this segment. The Wolves, that's what you follow to a T.
Night and day. Listen, everyone knows 2 words, Nas Reed. I got 3 words for you.
Oh, okay.
They are coming. 2 more words for you, Wolves back. They are heating up at just the right time. I know you think it's a joke. I'm telling you,
I don't think it's a
this
joke.
is the year.
Okay.
This is the year for the Wolves. They're getting hot at just the right time, and they're doing it all without the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, future Hall of Famer, Rudy Gobert. If you're not a Wolves fan, I'm sorry. If you're not a Wolves fan, I feel sorry for you because you're missing out on what is absolute box office, night in and night out. Okay, had to get that off my chest.
Yeah.
People don't say that about
so
the
glad
Wolves
you did,
enough.
though.
People don't say that about the
You're
Wolves
right.
enough.
Well,
People need to
people
know.
don't talk about the Wolves in general just because
They're
it's the
sleeping on them.
Wolves.
Well,
yeah.
they're going to be saying NBA champion Wolves.
Oh, okay. You heard it
around
here
this
first,
time
guys.
next year. You heard it here first. They're going to come back. You can rewind it. You can replay it. The Wolves are winning the NBA championship this year.
Okay.
Quote me on that.
Okay, you were talking about the offense is really just spreading wealth, right?
And just so we're clear, if they don't win it, my name is Reggie Wilson. If they do win it, my name is Nasser Kelvy, and I told you that first.
Okay.
March 5th, the Wolves are winning the championship this year.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't really know how I follow that up, but we were talking about Nas Reed, obviously.
Yes.
Nikhil Alexander-Walker had
Yes.
20 off the bench
Yes.
last night
Yes.
versus the 76ers. They have really figured, it's interesting to me because I was a little bit worried when Julius and Dante were coming back that while they're great players, right, the chemistry could be off because
The big
chemistry
rivalry.
wasn't great when they were there before.
Absolutely.
Now we've seen that they're able to, with Ant on the floor as well, they're not relying so much on him offensively, which is fine.
Yeah.
He's going to do whatever he's going to do anyways. You don't think that this is too soon?
No.
Okay.
Honestly, I think this is too late. If we're being honest with you,
Yeah.
if you would have had me on 2 weeks ago, I would have said they're coming, to be honest.
Okay.
You can feel it. These two guys, both Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, right when they got hurt, is when they're starting to click with this offense and starting to figure out their roles on defense. Now the team has grown around them and they're able to slide in seamlessly. You see Dante DiVincenzo, a human flamethrower on the court, night in and night out. How fun is the backcourt with him and Ant?
Yeah.
It does not get, I'm going to say it does not get any better than Ant and Dante DiVincenzo. It's that nice. They're that good. They're that clean out there.
It's that Minnesota nice.
It's that Minnesota nice. They're not playing games anymore. The league is in trouble. They should never let these two guys get together.
Okay. I think it's finally starting to work out the way that they envisioned to start the year when they made the trade, right?
Yes.
I also think that whenever guys, and I think it's something that's not talked about enough either, is whenever guys are hurt and they spend time just watching a game because they had no time to watch this Wolves team, right? Sometimes, which I'm not saying all the time it's like this, but sometimes it's easier for guys to kind of see what was not working whenever they are just sitting there watching the game themselves and then these are professionals, right? Working their way back into it. But I will say that 76ers game, they had 19 turnovers. Still won.
They're working on those.
They're working
on those. Those will be cleaned up. Those will be cleaned up by the playoffs. Don't worry about it.
And Chris Finch said, it's been a while since we had that many turnovers. We can't go back to that kind of basketball. We found a good rhythm there in the fourth. Obviously, that's not something that they want to do, but Mike Conley talked afterwards. He had this great shot where
Minnesota Mike.
He turned it over, then he immediately comes back. He has a half-court shot. So here is what he had to say about that craziness from last night.
It's always fun to hit the half quarters, but does it feel even better off of a turnover that you probably wanted back?
Yeah. It still didn't feel that good afterwards. I was like, I'd rather not have turned the ball over than made the three, but I'll take it.
That's a signature move from you. Whenever you
Turn the ball over, you almost always try to double back and get the ball
back, man. I either try to get the steal right back or I try to make a play on the other end. So turning the ball over is like my biggest pet peeve. So, yeah.
Obviously, no one's trying to turn the ball over, but a bounce back like that, pretty nice.
Mike Conley, what can you say?
You were talking to me earlier today about how Mike Conley's kind of caught a little bit of flack because people want to see Rob Dillingham out there.
Yeah. Well, they put him in that situation. You go draft one of the most exciting prospects, somebody who's absolutely explosive, somebody who's dynamic, who's quick, who's shifty, who can do all those things. Obviously, people are going to want to watch him develop. And if he's on the bench, he's not going to develop. But Mike Conley is still that guy. He can still shoot. He was plus 21, I think, in last night's game. He can still be out there. He can still hang. I think to me, it just kind of goes back to the Dallas playoffs last year where everyone was saying, Mike Conley just can't keep up with Luka and Kyrie. They're just running down the court, and we got Mike Conley out there. He can't do it. But at this point in his career, I think as a rotation with other guards, Mike Conley's going to excel. I think he's going to be even better than he was last year.
Jumping back to what we were talking about earlier, you were saying, this is good stuff from the Wolves. Do you think that this is their ceiling, or do you think that there is still yet to be touched?
Their ceiling, I'm going to tell you right now, the Wolves' ceiling is back-to-back championships.
Okay.
They're so young.
Wow, okay.
They're so young. They play defense. They have shooters. They can space the floor. They can do it all. The only thing stopping them is what you brought up earlier, is the turnovers. The sooner they clean those up,
Right.
the sooner the franchise starts, really.
I like it. Well, they are on a back-to-back, quite literally, right now. So they play Charlotte tonight. I think it'll be interesting to see how they follow up the performances that they've had. I think it has been better basketball than I was expecting, considering the start and middle of the season.
They had injuries.
They did.
They
I
had
think
some
that
people hurt.
The main thing that they have to accomplish now is just staying healthy, because I think that they have really, I would say they're starting to figure it out. I wouldn't say they have it completely figured out yet. I'm going to need a little bit more consistency through the next few games.
You're going to get it, though.
And then I'll have your confidence. How about that?
You're going to get that consistency. You have
Okay.
my word. And if you don't get it, again, remember, my name is Reggie Wilson.
Okay. Keep that in mind.
Remember that.
You know who to quote if things don't turn out
Depending on what
right for the
happens,
Wolves.
I'm either Nasser Kelvy or I'm Reggie Wilson. You know what it is.
Yeah, okay. We'll make sure and clip that and put that on the internet. Up next, we are still going to be talking basketball. We're going to be talking about the Gophers. Gopher women started their Big Ten tourney journey today. Wow, that was great rhyming. I did not mean to do that.
Well, you went off.
And
You like that.
also, the Gopher men have number 12 Wisconsin. So big day for Gopher hoops. We got to talk about it. Maybe we'll sprinkle in some wild talk. We'll see if we get to it. But all that is coming up. Welcome back, everyone, to our KARE 11 Sports Plus show. I'm Julia Daniels. That's not Reggie Wilson, unless
today.
the Wolves start to crash and burn.
Then I am Reggie Wilson. If the Wolves don't end up as champions this year, I'm Reggie Wilson.
Okay.
Otherwise, my name is Nasser Kelvy. Happy to be here.
He's one of our web producers, web reporter, I would say.
Yes.
We could put that in your title.
Put it in there.
If you get on our KARE 11 socials, you'll probably see Nasser somewhere on there. You're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you. I try.
He's not
I
been on
try.
air. You've not been on air really before this.
No, I haven't. It's
Either.
my first time.
You're doing
But
great.
Hey, thanks. I'm Reggie Wilson. I'm Reggie Wilson.
Yeah.
What
Channel
would Reggie
your
do?
inner Reggie.
What would Reggie Wilson do?
Well, we've talked about hoops, but we have to talk about college hoops and the Gopher men's and women's basketball teams right now. The women, while we're recording this, the women are currently playing Washington, but it does look like they're going to lose this game.
Never say never, though.
Big Ten tournament. You're right. As we're recording this, it's 74-58. A minute and a half left in the fourth.
Never say never, though.
No, and I do never say never when it comes to Dawn Blitzwhite and her team. I think that she's done, I think sometimes it's overlooked that she just came in. This is her second season
This
with
is
the
her
team.
second year.
And I would argue she's done a pretty bang-up job with coaching
That's
so
what I was
far.
going to ask you is how would you rate Blitzwhite's second year, I guess? How would you rate her tenure so far as Gophers head coach of the women's hoops team?
I would give Dawn. I would go somewhere between B plus. I don't know if I would give her an A.
Okay. They're losing right now, as you
Yes,
said.
right.
It's easy to say
Just
that
for
when
the
they're
season,
losing. Yeah.
Right. Maybe I would go B plus because the way that the program looked when she came in and what she's been able to do with the same talent that was basically there before, and also the way that she's been able to develop players. I watch people like Amaya Battle, and I see their game evolve
Certified hooper.
in just a year. Yeah, in just a year. So, and you look at some of the younger girls on the team, and you're able to track their journey and see how well they're doing compared to the program before Dawn came in. And so I think that there is something to be said about that. And I think that Dawn has this program headed into the right direction, but I don't think that they're anywhere near where they could be.
Sure.
That also comes into play with, everything else that goes on with college athletics too. And so there's other factors that go into it. But I will say she was really excited headed into the Big Ten tournament. And she also talked a little bit about how they can control what they can control headed into this, because at that point their fate for March Madness is kind of
Sealed.
up to other people. Right. But here's what she had to say ahead of the Big Ten tournament.
Well, I think ultimately we do have great opportunities, and I think that this crew has an opportunity. They've earned an opportunity to play in the postseason, and now we have an opportunity to continue to grow and get better and learn from what we. The interesting thing about the Big Ten this year is that for everybody, with the size and the depth of the conference, but really just with the size of the conference first and foremost, you only get to play everyone in the conference one time. And so we always said it's hard because I think at times we wait for like the next time. You know, obviously you have one opponent that you get to play a second time, but now you have an opportunity to learn and to grow and to develop and carry those lessons over. And so this is it's a good opportunity for us to take what we've learned and kind of move it forward and continue to get better. Control what we can control.
One thing I will say about Dawn is she's very realistic about everything. She didn't come into this Gophers program and think, we're just going to come in, we're going to win the Big Ten, we're going to do all these crazy things. She was realistic about the steps that needed to be taken in order to get the program where it will be in a few years. That being said, we were talking about resources as well. I think that's something that you were asking me about earlier too.
What is it going to take for the Gophers to really compete in the NIL era? I mean, we know they don't have the same resources that other teams are going to have.
Right.
They don't have the big cities. I'm from here. I love the cities. Don't get me wrong. But they don't have the same amount of resources that these other schools have to compete at that level. What do you think they need to do to get to that level?
I think that something that is becoming a trend in college athletics, in particular college athletic programs that are doing well, is changing the mindset from it's going to sound really bad, guys. Changing the mindset from we want to develop your athlete, we want to do this, that, and the other, into more of a hardcore business aspect, which means hiring a general manager. Successful athletic programs right now have general managers that are handling the business side of everything, because at the end of the day, this is a business now. And we are in the Twin Cities. We have so many Fortune 500 companies here.
True.
That can get involved with Gopher Athletics.
You want to see them put some money in the NIL fund?
Yes, they need to invest in these teams, but also the Gophers have to make themselves attractive enough to do that, which also means getting, and if we're talking basketball here, we are one of the basketball hubs in the nation, right? Getting one or two of these phenomenal high school athletes to stay here and stay with this program. I mean, I've heard that Paige Beckers would have stayed if Lindsay Whalen had been hired a year earlier.
Really?
Yeah, it's just
wouldn't that be
takes
something?
and I think that Dawn is one of those coaches that eventually it will turn into that. But what we're seeing right now is everybody's leaving.
Yeah.
They're headed out, and so I think that it's investing in the program. It's investing in high school hoops. I think they're working on it, but it's just, and my dad always has this saying where he's like, it's not about the money, it's just about the money, right? So I think that it's the same way with the men's program too, is I think maybe hiring a general manager for both men's and women's to kind of.
So you think it starts with the money? You think there's more money, more NIL will get those people? Or you think it needs to start with the program? I mean, what is it first? Is it the chicken or the egg? Do they need to achieve success first, or do they need money first?
That's the huge question, right? I think you have to gather the investments to make yourself attractive to the high school hoopers here. Because guess what? They're going to get paid way more somewhere else than they are here because the investments aren't there. And that's why you bring a general manager in to advertise your program to these companies so that they are investing in your teams. But it's the same way with the men too. I think Ben Johnson.
I was just going to say.
Great guy.
They have some good wins this year. I mean, they beat some really good teams. They've played really well at times this year.
It's not been consistent, but we have seen sparks of something. And I think it's the same way too. It's also, those wins have to be more consistent, which I think is what we're headed towards, right?
I hope so.
We're hoping that happens so that that's when businesses want to get involved. The more people, and I will say, as somebody that has covered Gopher hoops for a few years now, there are way more people at these games than there were my first year covering these teams.
There you go.
And so it's turning into that. I think there's something to be hopeful for when it comes to Gopher hoops.
Iconic venue.
It is, yeah. The barn is awesome.
You gotta love the barn.
Yeah, I think it's just going to take some time and some patience from everybody.
A little bit more patience, Gopher fans. A little bit more.
Sorry,
We've been patient.
I know.
A little bit more patience.
You just need one or two of these businesses to hop in and go for it. But the men have number 12 Wisconsin tonight. Could be a win for them.
Go Gophs.
It could be.
They've beaten better teams.
They have.
This year.
Oh, absolutely.
They've beaten better teams this year. Can they do it when the lights are brightest? We're going to find out.
Yeah, and I hope that a win tonight would, give Ben Johnson a little bit more job security too, because I do think that they've got something good going with him.
It's going to be harder to retain athletes if we're going to keep switching out the head coaches too.
I agree.
And Ben Johnson has clearly been building something.
Yeah, I mean, guys are staying, which is always a good sign, especially in this climate. So that's all we got for KARE 11 Sports Plus today.
Just like that.
Thanks for hanging out with me out there.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, we will see you next week.